Hey, what is up guys, Master here, back to do 2 games. I'm going to be playing versus Senna in these 2. This first one will be on the map Battlebase, Beaverton, which has had a visual overhaul by Desolator Trooper. Looks to have a more red zone atmosphere to it. Definitely appreciate the work done by Desolator Trooper, and he has done an amazing job on the community maps he has put out, as well as the changes that he has done throughout the years. He has come a long way as a map creator, and I thought it'd be a good idea to give him a quick honorary mention at the start of this video. So I'm going to be playing as the Black Hand. My opponent, Senna, will be playing as the Traveler 59. So we'll be playing as Black Hand versus Traveler 59. Not a matchup that necessarily favors Black Hand unless they go for an early game all-in strategy, which still works to this day. Not as abusive as it once was back in the day, with the Raider Buggy spam notably being very hard to stop due to Seekers having very poor gun damage armor. They still do, but Buggies don't perform nearly as well as they did back then. So you have a fighting chance against mass Buggy spam and that one refinery all in. A couple other variants are effective against Traveler, including Flame Tank spam. If your opponent doesn't invest into cultists, then 2 or 3 Flame Tanks can be very tricky to stop. And they have also the Reckoners, which in this patch have had their speed increased a little from their nerf state, which was nerfed a couple years ago. I got the Raider Buggy out on the map scouting, anti-scouting those buses so he doesn't get into my base. If I can conceal my base, it's going to force him to build a Seeker early on to scout me with, because you never know, it could be a Flame Tank. Doesn't necessarily have to scout with a Seeker. He can go for a Nerve Center, the tier 2 structure for Scrin, and use the Tiberium Vibration Scan. That way he'll see how many harvesters and refineries I have, and he'll also be able to detect the power plant upgrade. That Tiberium core upgrade also is revealed by the Tiberium Vibration Scan support power. It's not free for Traveler, unlike for Reaper 17. So if you want to stop rushes, play Reaper 17. There's a couple of reasons for that aside from the Tiberium Vibration Scan. Another reason being their harvesters get an additional 1000 health over the Scrin harvester, and that is not without counting the shield. So the harvester without the shield has 1000 more hit points, which already makes it very, very potent. The Shard Walkers have more DPS, 33% more damage, and they only cost $100 more. So Reaper 17 definitely is a more equipped faction to hold Black Hand rushes. But instead of rushing, I'm going for a 1 base strategy here, 5 and 2. Flame Tank is out for me. I have a Reckoner, filled that up with Engineers. I'm going to attempt to take my opponent's spikes with that Reckoner. Now this is me showcasing the speed of the Reckoner. It's not as much as it was in 1.02. It's between 1.02 and what it was in 1.02 Plus since 2016 when it got nerfed. Felt the nerf was a bit overkill. The drafted Cabal size being 4 squad members, I felt was sufficient, but Black Hand was a potent faction, and it still is to this day. We see Black Hand picked all the time in tournaments. No one wants to shy away from it, just because they have the strongest early game of all the factions, and it's mostly about all-in rushes. As long as every faction has the means to counter all-ins, Black Hand should have a counter pick. Now we know that Steel Talons definitely don't perform the best, well, they do perform the best versus Black Hand because they have Titans which can crush Reckoners as well as Flame Tanks. Their Titans also shoot over buildings. But yeah, I upgraded the Black Disciples in this game, so my rockets also have that Black Disciple upgrade, which will allow the Disciple members inside of this Reckoner to do damage to the photon cannons nearby. Forced out a couple photon cannons, and I have an additional Saboteur. I was thinking I could take his spike over, but it's definitely more valuable capturing a refinery. I'm going to grab myself a Scrin Harvester. And fun little fact, if you control a Scrin Extractor, you no longer will require silos. Not that anyone builds silos anyways, because no one should be floating over 10 or 15 grand of resources in a 1v1 match, or any game mode for that matter. But I've got this Reckoner still out. I'm going to garrison it up once again with a couple more militant rockets. Harvester heading to that blue field for some Tiburum, and I'm just buying my time here while I get that charged particle beam upgrade. I want to prioritize on the charged particle beams so I can kill the Prodigy, which is most likely going to be being queued by him. Now you will have noticed that I built a tech lab on 3 refineries. This is so I can get that charged particle beam up against that Prodigy, which is likely to come out on 3 refineries as well. Quad turret upgrade is viable in this patch nowadays. The desync no longer happens. That will provide an additional 33% damage to your shredder turrets. And against infantry, the DPS is significant. Shredder turrets with that upgrade do deal 15% less damage against vehicles, but against infantry the damage is unchanged. And if you read through the patch notes, every turret was reduced in damage to compensate for that 4th turret, so you need the 4th turret to be as effective as the 3 in 1.02. But there is a further reduction against vehicles. Multi-team CV was a very potent strategy with Black Hand, still is, but not nearly as oppressive. And that particle beam shredder turret that I put down has done so much work. It has been able to take out multiple simulators. Those particle beams do so much damage. And I'm going to be able to maintain control of those Tiberians by Scorpion tanks heading towards him. He was forced to build gunwalkers before due to the impending threat of infantry. He saw that Black Disciple upgrade, so logically it makes more sense to queue gunwalkers than it does to queue Seekers. Seekers very weak against infantry. They can't crush. And he's got Mecha Pete's out here, but 8 Scorpion tanks are going to be able to deal with Mecha Pete's quite nicely as long as the mechas remain in low numbers. I will try and keep them in low numbers. Don't want him to build a force up with those because they become a bit like planetary assault carriers. After a number of them are made, it becomes increasingly difficult to counter. Packs for Nod factions are super hard to kill. Now, whilst this has been happening, I was able to queue a Redeemer, and I'm researching the Purifying Flame upgrade. Not to upgrade my flame tanks, not to purchase purifiers, but to give my Black Disciples that upgrade, as well as the Redeemer, the upgrade. In 1.02 Plus, if you get the Purifying Flame or Blue Shard upgrade for the Reaper 17, that will affect the Black Hand squad and Ravager hardpoints respectively. They will receive a DPS boost inside of your epic unit. So I'm going to make full use of this and go for a dual flame Redeemer. Though I could change my mind because it's a good idea to have some repair capability as well. So I'm going to queue a Saboteur. Simulators inside of Eradicated Hexapods are very viable now. Before, they used to repair for 60 per second. Now it is 100 per second. The reason for that was the corrupted heal rate got reduced, and you can no longer hex lane quite like before due to the Mastermind's ability not being able to insta-crush like it used to. The blink of the Eradicator, that is. No Dozer Blades on my Reckoners, but it's still going to be better off for me trying to crush them. I will lose a tank or two, but I can get across that bridge and cause more damage. But I choose to go back. Maybe that's the better play. Honestly, I wasn't expecting my Scorpion tanks to survive this long. That's why I didn't purchase the Dozer Blade upgrade. And there we see they are pretty easy to kill in the late game, hence the upgrade not being required. Plus, you don't want to spam Reckoners later on due to the mind control. The cultists and the Prodigy can take them, and infantry inside get crushed immediately by that Reckoner. Now, I think that can be fixed. Especially whilst crushed. Infantry should not be killed in Reckoners if they are mind controlled inside of a deployed Reckoner. That will probably be fixed in the next version of the patch. Beam cannons. They're going to engage the tripods. The Mantis out as well. A number of these units have received changes. The Mantis has a 3-second reload time, but it fires a volley of 10 rockets. Before it was 5 rockets, and it was 2 barrages of 5 rockets. Now it's 10. There are some drawbacks to that. That's why I decreased the reload time from 5 seconds to 3. These beam cannons, very effective. And now we see this Purifying Flame Redeemer on display here. Look at that Purifying Flame. It is beautiful to watch. Even a game this old continues to hold up to this day graphically. I haven't seen an RTS game, aside from perhaps StarCraft or Dawn of War 3 and 2, that lives up to this visually. But yeah, Sage and all the entries inside of it definitely hold up to this day. And if you're wondering, I'm using the 4K remaster mod, which you can all find in the video description in all of my videos. Download links are down below. Purifying Flame Redeemer, though, heading into this base, this has an amazing damage boost. It's 30% more DPS over the regular flamethrower, so it is not a mere bonus. It is a significant one, and there's several reasons for that. I want to talk you guys through the process of why these changes were made. The blue flame tanks had an exploit where if you focus fire at the ground, they deal 5-10 times more damage. That was fixed since after a number of years players realized that and abused it. A number of players, including Phoenix, complained that flame tanks were overpowered. They were insane, which they were with that upgrade. So I fixed that, which was a nerf to Black Hand, admittedly. So instead of nerfing them, I decided to give the Purifying Flame to the Redeemer. Keep the cost the same, the upgrade time the same, because I didn't want to promote Purifying Flame mid-game timing pushes, since I know they're already effective. Making it more so would be game-breaking when balance is concerned. So I gave the Redeemer that Purifying Flame upgrade, and ultimately even reduced the cost of $2,500, but kept that research time at 1.5 minutes. Redeemer, still alive, still going. That repair pad is keeping it going. There's a tripod nearby, but that's going to get destroyed by the beam cannons, and now there are no more options for this Eradicator Hexpod to escape, since the phase field was used. Redeemer trying to escape once again. I've got a commando there. Those are amazing versus Triumph 59. Very hard to kill. Without Mechapeds, you're going to need a ton of gunwalkers, and it's unlikely that the trap player has that. And unlike regular man spam, commandos can't get crushed either by anything but an epic unit. So that makes them even better. Not sure what was going on here, but my beam cannons, despite giving them an attack move, did not attack. I guess that's just the regular old behavior of beam cannons, come to think of it. You do need to micro them and not rely solely on that attack move. So yeah, the Vapor Bomb comes in. I nailed all but one of those tripods with that, and this blue Flame Redeemer still is going. Look at that damage. Look at that Purifying Flame go. This trap player is having a tough time in dealing with this, but he's finally going to be able to kill it. Redeemer easily has done the damage, and I have a lot of Tiberium actually at my main. Since I transferred all my harvesters to the expansion, I left that field to regrow. There's lots of tip there for me to gather if I choose, which I'm doing now. I reckon it there for good measure in case a Mechapede or a couple Seekers attack me. But yeah, with these obelisks in his base now, he's not going to be able to defend against this. He's going to be forced to call GG, especially with that commando. Super oppressive against Traveler 59, if I don't say. So Black Hand have a tough time against Traveler, but if you play them right, they can be effective and still come through in the late game. But it's important that you don't fall behind early on and let those Mechapeds get too much map control. If you can avoid Mechapeds dominating the early game or the mid game, then you're going to be setting up for a good game. Anyways, let's go on to game number 2 and see what that one's all about. This is a 2-game series versus Senna that I thought I'd commentate over. This one was on Battlebase Beaverton, and now we're going to head on over to Atacama Roads. Welcome back, guys, to game number 2, which brings us to Atacama Road. Once again, I'm going to be playing versus Senna. Can Senna get his revenge from game number 1? We shall see. Anyways, I'll be playing once again as the Nod faction. Not Black Hand this time. No. It's going to be Nod Vanilla. My opponent will also be a Nod faction. I can't remember if he was marked of Kane or not. It's been a while since I played this game, but I do remember it being pretty fun. And we're going to see what's going to happen. It's definitely a Senna game. By the time this ends, you will know why. But no spoilers. Opening up here with a couple militant squads. Now, I didn't know he was random. If I knew right away it's a Nod mirror, I wouldn't build militant squads just because they are just XP food for those raider buggies. There's no reason to go for militants or cabals or awakened in a Nod mirror. Period. That's just not a good idea. What you should do is go for a raider buggy scout or sometimes a bike. A bike is good because if you know your opponent's not going for infantry, bike makes more sense. You can harass your opponent's harvesters. You can prevent their MCV from expanding without taking damage. Imagine that MCV falling low on health. It's going to make your opponent a bit paranoid. Is there something else behind this? Is he going to follow it up with a flame tank and finish me off? And if you get it low on HP, he's going to have to energy repair it, which will delay his expo even further. Now, I'm going for an operations center here. And I was thinking, maybe I can grab those Tiberium spikes of his. Go for a Reckoner. And much like in that previous game, take those Tiberium spikes. Power down my refinery instead of getting the upgrade. A lot of people like to get this power plant upgrade. I thought, okay, let's just purchase this upgrade here. Because it does generate a massive amount of power on your power plant, but it does make them exposed to your opponent. If your opponent can destroy an upgraded power plant this early on, it's almost like killing a harvester or more. It disrupts you massively. So I sell this operations center off for that Black Hand squad. But sadly for me, the Raider buggy has already detected this. And despite that buggy not outputting a lot of damage, it's still going to deal enough to get it to half health by the time I arrive at his base. So I thought, okay, instead of going for his base, which is obviously going to be stopping me there with bikes, I'm going to go instead for the spike, try and burn it down with the Black Hand squad inside. Now what I did with this flame tank is I moved it a little bit further towards the refinery so he can't block this with a silo. Some players will place a building in front of your flame tank, interrupting the damage it is dealing. But that time I did something proactively and prevented that from happening. Black Hand squad with that one flame unit inside will attack the war factory. It's going to take a while before I DPS this down, but considering there's not much there to kill it, I should be able to get that second war factory nicely. I'm going for that secret shrine now to upgrade my man spam. Now this is what I would do as Black Hand, but the issue is as Nod, you've got to research 2 upgrades for your infantry to be any good. Whereas Black Hand, they get that Black Disciple upgrade, which is all they need for $1,000. Cabals also offer a significant buff in terms of rate of fire increase. It's plus 50% rate of fire, and their health is increased also by 25% armor or health. It's armor, I believe. But yeah, incoming enemy damage is reduced by 25% with the Confessor Cabal around. Nod, however, get the Confessors, which is a different buff. It's not as much of a buff compared to the Confessor squad. Now, I don't know this by the top of my heart. I just don't know this, but I believe it's 10% health. No, that's the Tiberium infusion. And Tiberium infusion is 10% health. The Confessor is something like 10% rate of fire increase. It's the same buff, but it repeats every 5 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds. It's the same buff as the Confessor squad, except every 5 seconds it does a buff that lasts for 1 second, I believe. Difficult to do math in real time, I will say. I scout the second war factory, but I'm already ready to defend that with the infantry. I can can sell my secret shrine off. I no longer require it. It's kind of pointless putting disruption towers down when my opponent is spamming bikes, which naturally counter stealth. A lot of blue in the middle of the map. I'm looking to maybe gather that with my inf. Now, considering I've got a lot of inf on the map, one thing that will make them even better is to queue reckoners and deploy them around the place. And since reckoners, like I mentioned in that first game, are speedier than they used to be, it makes sense. Build a reckoner, maybe deploy it in the middle of the map, garrison it up with those rockets. It will give my harvesters cover while they take that tip. I think if I can secure that tip, that's a win condition for me. Scorpion tank's out now for Senna. I'm going to do a little bit of micro here to kill a tank. That's about as much as I can hope for from the few rockets that I built and sent to him. So like I said, I'm going for that Reckoner, also queuing the corresponding upgrade for them, which is the Dozer Blades. That's going to provide them with a significant bonus to armor. In fact, this is not a measly 20% armor increase that the Scorpion tanks get, rather it is a 30% increase. And some people, especially in the modern community, were skeptical of this. They thought, this is too much. 30% armor, that's too much to Reckoners. It's not, guys. It's not. This has been play tested, and I know that this is fine since we've already tested it with 20% and 25%. The fact is, Reckoners, by the time they get Dozer Blades, there is more than 2x the amount of DPS from your opponent on the map. So, with that in mind, your opponent, even with 30% armor Reckoners, are still gonna die quickly to your opponent's forces. So I'm gonna set up shop in the middle of the map, and you see it's already tier 3. These Reckoners, despite that armor increase, are not gonna withstand the firepower from laser capacitors, from avatars, that sort of thing. I deployed one in my field and I was able to thwart that attack, but not before he gets a click down on my refineries there. Harvesters pathing the wrong way to him, but fortunately, as the Nod faction, they are stealth. He's not going to be able to detect those. I decide to set up some Reckoners in my base to defend. I feel like he'll go for them, but instead he chooses to attack my tip spikes, which is a smart move. A lot of players often ignore that they have their tip spikes to kill easily. I did this once versus Bike and paid for it dearly. I should have won that game on Odyssey. Sadly though, I didn't kill that spike, and it led me to a 1-3 situation when it could have easily been 2-2 and game on. Laser capacitors is done, and since this field technically is one click away, I'm going to use it here, but little did I realize the map has a little bit of a bug, and the middle part of it had a health amount which destroyed it. It should have been an indestructible piece of terrain, yet it wasn't, and you can see the terrain has disappeared due to that. Easily fixed. All you got to do is just make the object indestructible in World Builder. But that was the first time I ever tip veined the middle of this map, and I was able to get quite a few Scorpion tanks in the process. So I'm now going for avatars. He went for Scorpion tanks. I instead decided to opt for avatars with dual beam. I don't rate Scorpion tanks that highly on this map due to the chokes that are on it. Nor do I rate avatars without the secondary beam attachment as being that great either, unless you got a lot of them. So I've got these vertigos out. Senna a little bit ahead of me on the Redeemer. I'm queuing avatars and a Redeemer myself behind this. And I'm looking for potential targets here. The Redeemer, it's pointless to target that. It's just going to repair back the health that I take off with the engineer he has inside. Venom scouting me. And since in 1.02 plus the tail gunner can only shoot from the rear, which is logical, I'm not going to be able to kill that so easily with Vertigo bombers. Targeting Scorpion tanks, which is evidently not the most efficient use of vertigos. I want my first strikes to be pretty impactful, since now I've given away the element of surprise of them. He's going to probably be spamming venoms at this point. Redeemer, I actually went for a different configuration this time in my Redeemer, opting for 2 rockets. Now against vehicles, this is going to receive a nice boost in DPS. It will receive a 50% increase in damage to that 3rd rocket, but against aircraft the damage remains the same as if it were 2 in the vanilla version. I also put a disruption pod on top of it, which makes sense. If you've already got the vertigos, go ahead and place that pod on there. The stealth duration was increased from 120 seconds to 240 seconds. That is a massive increase. That's short of being infinite. That would be broken otherwise. Paying $300 and getting a pod that never ever expires, but I deem that 4 minutes is worth it, considering the busy work required to set it up. So these vertigos have been idle this whole time. I could have been out on this map targeting his refineries. I did destroy one of them, which delayed his expansion a little bit, and he has managed to find a gap with his bikes. Lots of my harvesters falling, and that was it came at a critical juncture for Senna, because I was about to set up my refinery and I'm building up avatars. He has been taking out many of my harvesters, and that rocket reckoner was emptied. So perhaps a costly mistake of mine was leaving that without infantry inside. Vertigo's going back in for another bombing run. I'm going to see if I can inflict some damage back onto his base, but it's not going to offset the huge losses I'm taking in my base. I place a disruption tower, which is useless against that many bikes he has around, and now the venoms are chasing me back and things are falling apart for me. I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox here, aside from that rocket redeemer, and that is to equip the avatars with a bike attachment. Now in the base version of this game, this is honestly rather useless. The range of the stealth detection is very minimal, but in 1.02 plus that has been doubled, practically doubled. It is as much as if you were to build a venom or bike. So it makes sense not spamming stealth detection when you can just equip a bike to an avatar and be more efficient with your units. In the knob mirror, it makes more sense to do it this way. And those venoms will want to get out of there. That redeemer has a very potent anti-air capability. Lots of avatars here equipped with their respective attachments. You can see the stealth detection spotlights going off there, being able to spot the mines in that mine drop and take them out immediately. I even equipped an avatar with a flame tank. It's going to allow me to kill buildings as well as infantry, but the primary purpose of me sending in my MCV is to support this push with base defenses and to reclaim husks via placing a hand of nod and then subsequently queuing saboteurs to take them back. But yeah, look at that dual beam avatar go with the flamethrower. Some of them have flamethrowers on them, some of them have that dual beam attachment, others have the bike attachment, so stealth is not going to be an option for Senna. I'm queuing up those saboteurs, and this redeemer is practically unopposed, taking out avatar after avatar. One thing I'm failing to target here are those husks, but I want to deal with these forces first. This is an intense battle taking place. He has a lot more resources than me. I'm trickling down in resources. There's an attack marker over on the left hand side. This redeemer is getting low on health. I need to place a war factory down. Since it hasn't got a saboteur, it's gonna need a war factory to gain repairs. But those bikes are still causing me damage. That is an insane amount of harvester that has been going down for me. I've been focused predominantly on winning this fight over here on the right hand side, that I forgot that my harvesters have come under siege. A couple of venoms get thrown into my SAM turret. This redeemer still going for me. Raging fires off. I was just about able to prevent that husk from being captured. Redeemer is still stealth. That disruption pod, as mentioned, 4 minutes is a considerable duration. I'm risking this Redeemer's life by trying to target those husks, but it's worth it in my opinion. So many husks from either one of us, and I'm totally broke at this point. I don't have any resources. I could sell some of my base off and place a barracks down. I need those avatars, and I need them now. One avatar husk remains on my side. He has several on his. Avatars back there. I'm looking at my avatars and thinking, there's no way I can win this with eco. I need to try and milk this avatar to heroic. It only has one beam attachment, doesn't have that secondary beam cannon. So what I should do here is build a beam cannon and try and get that to heroic. If I can get a heroic avatar, maybe there's a shot I can win this. I have been battered and bruised though. Look at this. Only one harvester remains for me. I won the engagement, but he has a wall of obelisks and an obelisk and a redeemer out once again. But I don't want to give up. I'm going to continue to fight on. And I don't think you guys have seen this many avatar commandeer upgrades in a single match, especially in a 1v1 before. 2 more avatars get reclaimed, but yeah, that one is long for this world. It does get destroyed right away by that wall of obelisks. I don't know how I'm going to combat that, especially considering the low eco game that I'm currently facing. Well, low eco for me. He is bringing a ton of resources. Elite avatar on the left does get spotted right away by those venoms. Place a SAM turret down and hope to take them out. Now I do have the laser capacitor upgrade, so AA will be a bit better on those buggies compared to just the regular Gatling gun that it has by default. Redeemer has repaired a lot of its damage now, and it's going to be free to harass his harvesters once more, but I need something back there to detect them with, which I currently don't have. He's brought in the majority of the tib on that right hand side, so what he has now is what he has left. Same goes for me, though I am bringing in some tip now. I did rebuild my harvesters. One thing I regret not getting is the EMP cores upgrade on my raider buggies, since now all I need are buggies and this avatar to go elite, because if I can get a heroic avatar, that'd be amazing. What I could have done here with heroic buggies was to move into the obelisk with the buggies, EMP'd it, and then aimed it down with the avatar, which has a flamethrower, so it does have something to gain XP quickly. There's an obelisk over there. Don't want to run into that, so I'm going to decide to turn back. Venoms will pick off the remainder of the buggies will pick off the remainder of those venoms. Lots of tip available to me, so despite not having an expansion, it honestly does not matter at this point. Again, like I mentioned, I regret not purchasing that EMP coils upgrade. I'm getting another harvester. Got a nice defense at my base with that warp factory and reckoner and a redeemer, so he can't exactly push me at this present time. What do you call it? Radar jamming missile gets fired off. That's Senna's favorite support power. 1.02 plus it got buffed. 15 seconds it lasts now, plus the cost was reduced from $500 to $300, so Senna as a result was buffed in a major way. Scorpion tank's there to defend my harvesters, so he's not gonna have a free run this time in killing them. Redeemer's still receiving repairs. There's lots of obelisks on the right hand side, but there's none over on this side, and if I can kill these avatars, then there is a chance. But this avatar is getting hit from the rear. It even runs into mines. I'm hoping it goes heroic, but sadly it does not. And with that, it's going to become incredibly difficult to offset the major economic advantage that Senna currently has. With the heroic avatar, there was a chance of me to go in there and take out his base. The buggies, all they needed was that upgrade. If I had EMP, I could have locked down those avatars, killed them, and subsequently then killed the venoms with the laser buggies. Sadly though, didn't get that upgrade. Even though I was behind economically, the trades I made were very much in my favor. A couple of decisions here and there, and that game could have gone either way in my opinion. Despite the many harvests I lost, I thought I did better engagements. Anyways guys, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it and enjoyed it, then don't forget to hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. And before I go, I would like to thank my patrons for continuing to support me and my channel and keeping this going. Anyways guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.